be getting ready for Shavuot, and Shavuot is Hallel. It's a full holiday. It's one of the three Shalosh Regalim, the three pilgrimage holidays. So I have this book that has these little stories that I used to use in 7th grade, and the kids like them because in the stories there's a lot of vocabulary that we've had, but it's put into modern Hebrew. And when we get to the book of Ruth, you're going to see that it's really very modern Hebrew. You know, it's not biblical Hebrew. It really reads just like a story that you would get in any modern Hebrew book. So that's a very good thing. I don't know the trope for Megillat Ruth. I know of other tropes. I know Haftorah, and I know for the summer Echa, and I know Torah, but this is one that I don't know. I tried once to learn it, but it's very melodic and you really have to spend a lot of time on it. So anyway, just a little bit about the book of Ruth and the story of Ruth. Do you know this story?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Why was that? Oh, yeah. Have you studied it?
Well, because Ruth, first of all, she was considered, quote unquote, the first convert.
Right.
And I took her name as one of my Hebrew names. And she was also the grandmother of Jesse, who is my grandson's name. So.
And the great grandmother of King David.
Yes, right. Right.
And he was the son of Jesse, which is, so this is really nice. I was just reading some commentary from this book, which I have from the 5 Megillot. And in it says something that is very true, that Jewish people consider a good name, a good reputation, Shem Tov, as a very high level of worthiness. That if your name is despoiled, then it's like an attack on who you are, on your personage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of the names in the Torah too have meanings. So, anyway,
Carol,
yeah.
our daughter's name is Ruth.
Oh yeah. I have 4 granddaughters, and one of them is Ruth. Actually, her name is Sarah Ruth, but she goes by Ruthie. She goes by Ruth. And in the class that I teach for ESL, I have 2 Ruths. I go, oh, Ruthie. There's friends.
In Hebrew, it's root, right? Because I remember when
Ruth.
Yeah, when I got my name at the synagogue, it's Kaya Ruth.
Kaya Ruth.
My first name is Kaya.
Yeah. Hi, Francine.
Good morning.
Hi, Francine.
So
Good
I just
afternoon to you.
wanted to go over. Hi, Charlene. And I sent you, I don't know if you all saw it, but I did send you, I put together a pastiche
Yep.
from the book that I have of all the different Megillas. And I wanted you to know in advance some of the names to be familiar with them. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Hi, Nancy.
So
Morning.
the name Beit Lechem, if you translate that, what does it mean? Beit Lechem.
House of bread?
Right. And so they went to Bethlehem.
Oh,
Well, they came from Bethlehem and they went to Moab because there was no lechem, there was a famine. So that's why they went to the neighboring country, Moab.
oh.
And so that was Naomi, and one of my grandchildren is Naomi, which means sweetness, and her husband, Elimelech. And there was a commentary that I read, you know, maybe one of the reasons he died is his name was Eli, like El is God. Eli would be my God, and Melech, the king. So maybe his name showed something about his personality. Maybe he was arrogant or lorded it over people. Anyway, he died. And his 2 sons, Machlon and Chilion. So, but the main ones we're really interested in is Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah, her sister. Now, I heard something which I don't know if it's true, but you know about Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
Interesting name, Oprah. Where did you get the name Oprah from? So I think she told a story once that her mother was drunk or something, and she wanted to name her Orpah, but she mixed things up and she named her Oprah. That was a story that I heard. So you have Oprah. So it sounds like Orpah, but it's not Orpah. So Orpah, and you have All right, so they're gonna go back to Israel. And then another thing, which was against Elimelech and his family, and why his two sons may have died, is because when you go out of Israel, and the commentary that I just read just before I was reading it, it said, even if there's no bread, that's not an excuse to leave Israel. Supposed to stay there, I guess, and be hungry. And that was against him too. He took his family to Moab. So you should be on the look for those names, and those are some sight words because they'll occur a lot. And on the second page, I sent you of this. There is a quote that we all know, and that one is, whither thou goest, I will go. Your people will be my people, your nation, my nation, and your God, my God. And of course, that's what happens. She converts. Now, in conversion, you're supposed to try to dissuade the person. Do you know how many times?
3.
3, right? 3 times. And is that what happened with you, Denise? Denise, you're muted.
I'm muted because my husband got home. My dog's gonna start barking.
Oh, okay. We like dogs. It's a dog-friendly.
They get obnoxious. No, my rabbi, my aunt had to go back 3 times, but my rabbi was very welcoming. And I asked him if I would, because I told him, I said, I'm supposed to come back 3 times. He said, no, we're not going to do that this time.
Yeah.
I didn't have to. I would have, obviously.
Well, he saw that you were sincere and that,
Oh, yeah.
something you were really interested in doing. So, that's probably why. So the quote is Elech. Let's see. El asher telchi, wherever you go, Elech, I will go. And that's modern Hebrew. I mean, that is Hebrew of 2023. This is not biblical Hebrew. And then it says, Amech, Ami, from the root word your nation, my nation. And then it says, the Elohai, from Elohim, and your God. Elohai will be my God. So if you've heard that quote, it comes from the book of Ruth. And does anyone know why we read the book of Ruth on Shavuot? Well, it takes place at the time of the barley harvest. And that must have occurred in ancient Israel at the time now, because now it's warm enough. So Shavuot is May 25th, and it's after Mother's Day. It's time for planting. And so in Israel, it must have been that time, and they associated this story being situated at that time. Now, there's a very important custom that comes out of the book of Ruth, and that is called levirate marriage. Does anyone know what levirate marriage is? So this is something, I don't think people observe this anymore, but in Torah times, in biblical Hebrew, a man and wife get married, and if she can't bear children, then he is allowed to marry, no, if she doesn't have children from him, she can marry his brother. And if he dies, if she's a widow, she's a childless widow, okay, and her husband had a brother, she is supposed to marry the brother, so try to have a child to maintain the name of the husband. And that's levirate marriage. And as something like that occurs here, because in the book of Ruth, it's the shortest one. It's very short. It's a book in 4 chapters, and the chapters, as you can see, I gave you the first chapter, and I just cut and pasted the actual text, and that was it. I didn't give you the commentary. But so she does not have a husband, Ruth. Her husband died, and she comes with her mother-in-law, Naomi, and they come back into Eretz Israel. And so she's a widow, and she's with her mother-in-law. She is beautiful, and she's supposed to be very kind, and she goes out in the fields. And of course, there was a law, a Torah law for widows and orphans and strangers in town. And we have the corners of the field. We have 2 laws, Peah and Lechet. Peah and Lechet. So the payah is like the payas, is the corner. Everything's related. That's payot. So the payah, the corners of the field would be left undisturbed. It would not be, the gleaners would not go there. They would not pick any of the grapes or whatever was growing in the corners, and they would leave it for the widow, the orphan, the poor, the stranger. And leket is that whatever the gleaners, the ones who are picking the crop, drops, that also would go to the misfortunate, the widow, the orphan, the poor, the stranger. So here she is in Israel with her mother-in-law, Ruth, and she goes out to go, when the gleaners have finished for the day, she goes out into the fields and she collects the food that they didn't collect or that they dropped. And this was a biblical thing. I always say it was like a very old social service system, because they took care of, look, the orphan, the widow, the poor, the stranger. So there was a way to help these people, right? If you didn't have it, and it was an agricultural society, so they could go and pick the crops. They didn't have a food bank, but this was it. Go out in the fields, and if you're industrious, you'll get. So she was very industrious, and the gleaners didn't know who she was, and they saw her, and this beautiful girl, young girl, going out and picking. She was nice to everyone, and they were nice to her, and they let her pick, and I think they gave her water, no problems. So the one who owned the field that she was gleaning in, his name is Boaz, and he was a relative of her husband. And Elimelech had some land also in Israel, which Ruth could sell. So Boaz took notice of her, and he says to the gleaners, listen, you see that young girl over there? You drop a little bit extra, it's okay. Just let her pick up the stuff. Don't bother her. And absolutely don't bother her in terms of sexually. So mother-in-law, Naomi, says to her, why don't you get verpitzt, get yourself look nice.
You're pitched.
Verpitzt, it's Yiddish. You get yourself, put on something nice dress, and go out in the fields. And
Another
Boaz is there.
vocabulary word.
Yeah, Boaz is there. So she goes out and she sees him and he recognizes her. Now, there's always rabbinic terms, like for sex, they don't say it, but there's a thing where like his skirt is opened or something, his long robe is open and she's lying down in the field. She's in the field. And so that expression sort of means that they had a relationship. Then he likes her, but he knows that the law says the closest relative. So the husband didn't have a brother, but it seems to be a relative in Israel. So everyone would gather at the gates of the city, and you'd have a minyan, 10 people could make a court decision. So Boaz says, I'm going to go and I'm going to see if we can get this closer relative. Otherwise, I would like to marry you, Ruth. And so all the Altakakas are there. They're all the older men. They gathered there by the gate. And there's only one time it's mentioned that this man's name, who's a relative of Elimelech, is Tov. Tov means good, and that seems to be his name. So Boaz goes to him and says, you are the nearest relative. You're supposed to marry her. She's a widow. She has no children, was your relative. And he finds out that he has to buy the land and he has to have children with her. Now, he's probably afraid of his own inheritance with his own family, what's going to happen there. So he doesn't want to get involved. And here is the interesting thing in the Torah. Does anyone know what happens? The transfer of the right to marry her. So he has to take off his sandal and hand it to Boaz. And this is like transferring the right to marry her. So that occurs. I mean, these are interesting things, and it was a custom that's it's in the book of Ruth. And so now Boaz can marry Ruth, and he does marry her, and then they have children, and then the line goes down. So Ruth, who is the first convert, has the great honor of being the great grandmother of King David. So it is a short story in 4 chapters. Now, that marriage of a man has to marry the childless widow of his brother, that's called levirate marriage, Levirate, levirate marriage. And I don't think that that is observed anymore, but in biblical times it was, because it was important that a man's name be carried on, and also his property to go to his and property used to go to the sons until the 4 daughters of Zelophehad go to Moses and they complain. And they say, look, we are 4 girls. We don't have a brother, but our father had some land and our father died. Zelophehad was their father, and this is 4 girls. And they said, you know, if we got married, that land would transfer over to our husband and his tribe. But we want to inherit that land. And Moses gave his judgment, and he said, okay. So the 4 daughters of Zelophehad were very early feminists. So we do have examples of feminism in the Torah, and they were allowed to inherit that land.
Now, did Boaz have a previous wife? Was there?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything about him having children or a wife. Maybe he was just a confirmed bachelor. I've never seen anything about him having a wife. Nothing about that. Or
There
getting married or anything like that.
About 10 years ago, it was a Hallmark movie, believe it or not. It was called Loving Leah. I don't know if anybody ever saw it. And
Yeah.
it's just about this. She's a young woman who's the wife of a rabbi who dies young. And she's from the, I think from the Hasidim, she's in Brooklyn. So and she had, the law tells her that she's got to marry her husband's brother, who was the doctor down in Baltimore, and he doesn't know her, and neither one of them wants this, but she goes down and pretends, and you know how Hallmark movies end. Eventually they fall in love, but in the beginning they decide there was some type of a ceremony they had to do where he had to either break something or spit on something. The Beit Din, or the rabbis, the rabbinical court, listened to their story, and I can't remember how. Mercedes Rule was in it. I don't know if you know who she is.
Yeah, she's very good.
She was his mother, and it was excellent. Another one of that was another thing that piqued my interest in Judaism. I just was fascinated with that movie.
But this was a contemporary time, right?
Yeah, it was only 10 years ago.
Well, maybe it's still true in the Hasidic community, because they do value having a lot of children.
Yeah, I guess your son-in-law, he would know, right?
Yeah, I can ask him. He would know. So the book of Ruth is it's a sweet story. It has a good ending, and she's happy and he's happy, and they fall in love, and then they have children, and the line goes down so that we get to King David, and it's a very nice thing. So as we'll get to it, so next week we have a class. The following week we don't, because it's the second day of Shavuot. It's one of those 2-day holidays. Again, I'll be in synagogue. The 25th, Shavuos, starts, I think, the night before, and it starts, I think, Thursday night, and then Friday is the holiday. So I'll be in shul. Anyway, so the names, Orpah, Naomi, Elimelech, all these names, but if you actually look at it and start to read it, you're going to see that this is very contemporary, and the beginning gives the lineage of everybody, and it says Vayehi, and I just read it said when things start off with Vayehi and it happened, that usually denotes tragedies coming up. And in this time, and I never heard of that. Did you ever hear of that, Francine?
No.
Vayehi. So it's a Vayehi b'yamei Shafot HaShoftim, in the time of the judges. Vayihi Ra'av, and there was hunger, there was famine, Ba'aretz, you're supposed to know that's Israel. Vayelech ish mi beit lechem, and this man was from the tribe of Judah, and he went to live Lagur Bistei Moab, in the fields of Moab. I mean, that is totally modern Hebrew. I mean, I can translate that, and it's not like you reading the Torah. Even the Torah is also in modern Hebrew, by the way. And there's some quirks about it, but and then Hu v'ishto, he and his wife, Ushne banav, and his two sons, and the name of his wife, Vishem, and the name of Haish, Elimelech, the name of Elimelech's wife, and the name of Vishem Ishto, and the name of his wife is Naomi, and then the name of the two sons. I mean, so this is totally modern Hebrew. This is very easy. You can Banav, from Ben, and Ish, man, and Ishto, his wife. So this is Haaretz, they call it. And Israelis don't say Eretz Israel. Where are you from? I'm from Ani Mehaaretz. They just say from the land, and you're supposed to know what land. This is the land of Poland. Is it the land of Australia? Which land are you referring to? Ani Mehaaretz. That's it. I mean, Hamevin Mevin. The one who understands understands. He who knows knows. It's like an inner kind of thing. So anyway, so that is a little intro to tantalize you. I'm trying to tantalize you so you will not be afraid of looking at that text, because you will recognize a lot of words that you already know from the prayers. So don't be afraid to look at it. It's in modern Hebrew, and you'll see, you won't be able to translate the whole thing. But if you're reading through it, you'll say, oh, I know that word, I know that word, I know that word. I might be able to put a phrase or two together. And if you look in the English, I find that, look at the sentence in Hebrew. This is how I study Torah. I read the sentence in Hebrew, and then I look at it in English. And then I realize it's not an exact translation, especially with idioms, but I can figure out what it means. So that helps in doing a Torah reading. You know what you're saying, and it helps me a lot to know what the words are and what it means. And same thing with a Haftorah. So this story then is about the major event. What is the major event of Shavuot? What's the big deal about Shavuot? It's certainly not the barley harvest.
It's when we got the Torah.
Right. So Matan, Torah, giving of Torah, Matan. And so let's look at the vocabulary on this. And it says Emunah. So all of these stories had a value. Emunah is faith. Emet means true. Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, is 7 weeks from the second day of Passover. So how many days after Passover until we get to Shavuot?
50.
Right. Now, Shavua, you know the word Shavua, like Shavuato, Shavuato. What does Shavua mean?
Week.
A week. And the plural of Shavua is Shavuot, week. And so it's Sheva, it's 7 weeks, which is 49 days. And on the 50th day is the holiday. So absolutely right. And it says, though originally an agricultural festival, spring harvest, it is now closely associated with the giving of the Torah on Har, is Mount Sinai, the foundation of Jewish faith, derived from the covenant with God. So this is, religiously speaking, this is a very important holiday. It's just like in Catholicism, Christmas is the fun holiday. But I think religiously speaking, Easter, I think am I right, Denise?
Easter is much more important in the Christian
Yeah,
religion. but
much more important.
They don't make money off of it, so.
Right, it's much more important than Christmas. Okay, so Shavuot, I think, gets short shrift. This is very important, and they'll put up a little canopy on the bima, and they'll put flowers and sometimes fresh flowers on the bima, because it's supposed to be spring and harvest and growing things, and to try to beautify. But it is the giving of the Torah, which is the whole basis of Judaism, the Torah. So it should be, it's not just about eating blintzes. It ain't just blintzes. I once gave a talk on blintzes and all the like blintzes. If you have two blintzes side by side, it looks like the two tablets and just a whole lot of
Oh, yeah.
things that I had read about blintzes and the cheese, eat dairy, because at that time it was forbidden giving of the Torah to kill animals. You know, you were not supposed to killing, not at that time of giving of the Torah. So there were a lot of things connected with the customs that we have for Shavuot. And of course, the decorating of the synagogue with flowers and things. So here are the words that are in this story, and then you'll be able to read and understand. So Amim is the plural nations. So you know the song Am Yisrael Chai. What does that mean?
Peace
People of Israel live,
The nation, Am
nation.
Yisrael, the nation of Israel, Chai, lives, right? Like L'chaim, it's alive. So Ratzon is a wish. In the Amidah, the Yehi Ratzon may be a wish, and it's a petition. L'kabel, well, you have the Kabbalah. Kabbalah is all the mystical teachings, Kabbalah. So that's a verb, a modern verb, l'kabel. If you want to say, I received a letter, you say, kibalti mechtav. It's modern Hebrew, this. Okay, and mitzvot, you know, is a plural of mitzvah. And how do we translate mitzvah?
Commandments.
Right, don't tell me good deed, because that's not, it's a commandment, mitzvah. So Aseret Hadibrot, the 10 commandments. So Eser is 10. A modern Hebrew expression for that's very good, like Zetov mode, Ze Eser. It's 10. Okay, you did something good. Oh, Ze Eser, it's 10. That's Hebrew slang. So Aseret is 10. Now Dibrot is like words, sayings from the verb ledaber. You had that daber, ledaber, and God bless you, lebriut. Many verses in the Torah begin with Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. God spoke to Moses and said. Also, a lot of Torah is Vayedaber Moshe. Adonai Vayomer. So Moses and God speaking to each other, which happens a lot, right? So Vayedaber, and he said. So that's the same root, lidaber, to speak. And after a while, you begin to figure out the relationships with some of the Hebrew. You begin to say, oh, I see a relationship. I see the root, and now I can figure it out. So Aseret Hadibrot, 10 like speakings. Okay, 10 commandments. Peh. What part of your body is your peh? Your mouth, peh. And what number is echad? 1. So the expression peh echad, apparently that's what the Israelites did a lot. They responded in unison as one mouth, peh echad. Okay. Now, this is interesting. So the story tells us that, you know, God went to different nations. Will you accept the my Torah? And we'll read it, but na'aseh is from the root oseh, like oseh shalom, make peace, do peace. So na'aseh, the nun at the beginning is like from anachnu, we will do, na'aseh. And nishma, what's the root from that? Can you figure out the root, the 3 letters? That's the root from nishma. What does
Here.
here, right, Shema Yisrael. So Nishma is we will hear. We shall do and we shall listen or we shall obey. Okay. Do you find anything strange about that?
Yeah, they say we obey before they know what they're obeying.
Okay, we shall do, we'll do it, and we'll listen. Nasa, we'll do it. In other words, carte blanche, we're taking it, just we're accepting it blindly, whatever you say, Zetov is good enough for me. So na'aseh v'nishma. And sha'al is from lish'ol, and we have the 4 arba she'elot, the 4 questions on Pesach. So sha'al means he asked, from the verb lish'ol, to ask. And ana is from le'anot, to answer. Ana, he answered.
So,
Go ahead.
when you want to say he did something, he in front of a verb, it's not always the same prefix, is it? It's different each time.
Well, it depends on the verb. Like, if you want to say, the girl said, if you want to say the boy said, or the man said, hu diber. And a woman, he dibra.
Okay. Oh, okay. So
But you have to use the letters of the verb,
right,
the poel, okay? That's the thing. The ending changes.
if it's a girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, feminine ending is going to be different than the masculine.
Okay.
English is not like that, and modern Hebrew is like that. That's modern Hebrew. Okay, so it would be hu shama, he. That one would be probably shama, but it's different. It's not the same. Okay, so now the names. Chag, what's Chag?
Holiday?
Holiday, like Chag HaPesach. Chag HaShavuot, the holiday of weeks. So we love this. We have many different names for the holiday. The holiday of weeks, okay, because it comes 7 weeks after the episode on Sinai, after the giving of the Torah. Chag HaBikurim. The Bikurim is the first fruit. When they went to sacrifice, and this is one of the holidays, there's 3 pilgrimage festivals. These are the festivals. If you were an ancient Israelite, well, the 3 festivals were Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuot. And on those you say full Hallel. Okay, those are full Hallel. So Chag HaBikurim, when you went to sacrifice at the temple in Jerusalem, well, if there still was a temple, you're supposed to bring some of the first fruit of your crop. Remember, we're all Israelites, they're farmers, basically farmers. So your grapes, so whatever is your first fruit, you're supposed to bring that, the best and first of your fruit. You're supposed to bring that to the temple in Jerusalem. And also you're sacrificing animals too, but you're supposed to take. Now, Ben Ha-Bikur is the first son, Ha-Bikur. So, of course, we have the whole ceremony of Pidyon Haben, like the redemption of the firstborn male. Not that's not done with females. So my son, I have 2 sons. So the older one, we got I like 5 silver shekels, $5 silver, the little bag the rabbi gave us, and we went to the synagogue with him. He was just a baby. He was like a month old. They do it about a month old, not right after your birth. And you give that to the rabbi, and you're redeeming your son from being a helper in the temple, like with Samuel. So that's the Pidyon Haben, redemption of the first. So the Bikor is a firstborn, like your first fruit. It's not fruit of the loom, it's fruit of the womb, right? It's like, well, but it is. So he doesn't have to work in the temple. Okay. And Zman is time, Matan, of the giving, Torah Tenu, of our Torah or our law, the time of the giving of the law. So in 2023, we have to admit that the most important name is Zman Matan Torah Tenu, the time of the giving of the Torah, the anniversary of the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. I mean, this was a cataclysmic event. This was like thunder and lightning and flame of fire, like a volcanic eruption almost. This was a big thing, and everybody was supposed to be there, men, women, and children. Everyone were at the foot of Mount Sinai experiencing this. And this was the biggest of the big deals. This was the highlight. Okay, so here's a story. This is a midrash, and it's a very nice story. And it puts Jewish people in a very good light. So I'm going to read the first paragraph, and then I'm going to call on you to practice your reading. I'll read it slowly, and I want you to follow it. Just make believe you're in kindergarten or first grade, and you're going to track it with your little finger. Keep your finger on the place. Here we go. Ka'asher Ratzah, and now this is an abbreviation. Hakadosh Baruch Hu. What does that mean? Hakadosh Baruch Hu.
The Holy One, blessed be He.
Perfect. Latet et haTorah, halach el amei haolam, v'sha'al otam. What does olam mean?
The world.
The world. Okay. Zonchem lekabel et haTorah, sha'alu ha'amim. Ma katuv b'Torah. Amar lahem hakadosh baruch hu. Now it's just written out as an acronym. Mitzvot, chukim, umishpatim. Amru ha'amim. Nishma et divrei Toratecha. Ve'im yihiyu tovim be'einenu na'aseh otam. Ka'asher ha'amim sham'u. And here's a quote. Lo ta'aseh lecha pesel. They didn't like that. V'chol tmuna amru. Now they said, Lo nekabel et haTorah. Ba hakadosh baruch hu el bnei Yisrael bahar Sinai. Ve'amar lahem ritzonchem lekabel et haTorah. Anu kulam pe echad ve'amru kol asher diber Hashem na'aseh v'nishma. So it's like with the Israelites, it was just the reverse. Okay, so this is a nice little midrash, appropriate for Shavuot. Okay, so let's see if you can read, and then we'll translate a little bit. We'll see if you can do that. I think by this time, you've had enough Hebrew, and I've given you translations in the prayers, enough of simple words, and they give you a vocabulary, which is very good. And I like that. It's very nice vocabulary. That you can get at least the inyan, you can get the meaning of this. And now you can start to really do a little translation. And, you know, my feeling is that if you know what you're praying about, it even makes the experience better. So who would like to read? Okay, so the sentences are numbered, not really numbered, but by the vocabulary. Ooh, is there some brave soul who wants to read the first paragraph?
Well, I'll read the first line.
Okay, the first line, and you know the first line is ended by, just like in the Torah, the double diamonds, right? That's
Yeah.
you know, Denise, that's called sof pasuk,
So, yes.
end of the phrase. Okay, there you go.
Ka'asher Ratzah Hakadosh Baruch Hu Latet et haTorah. Halach el amei.
Good.
Yeah, okay. Ha'olam v'sha'al otam.
Yofi, beautiful.
Okay.
Okay,
Sure.
what does it mean? Can you tell us any of the? Okay, Ka'asher.
Does that mean who, or why?
When,
Oh, okay.
share, when, and they tell you number one, it ratza, find it in the vocabulary,
When somebody wanted.
wanted, when, wanted, the Holy One, blessed be he. That's what Francine said. Latet. You know what latet means?
To
Let's
give.
to love.
To give. Et is not translated. It comes before direct object. To give. HaTorah. When the Holy One, blessed be he, wished, wanted to give the Torah, he wanted to give someone the Torah. Halach. Holech is to go, to walk, to go. He went, is the past tense. El, it's a preposition. To. Amei, the nations of Ha'olam, the world. He went to the nations, God went to the nations of the world. This Sha'al, what's Sha'al?
Ask.
Good. Otam, and ask them. Okay, so he's offering the Torah up for grabs. Who is going to take the Torah and live by it? Okay. Francine, will you read the next sentence? It's a short one.
Ritzohem lekabel et haTorah.
Good. Do you know what the Ritzon means?
Do they want?
Yeah. Do you want?
You want to receive it, the Torah?
Yeah. Very good. Read another sentence. That was great. You
Sha'alu.
sound like a yeshiva bocha.
Oh, great. Sha'alu ha'amim. So he asked the people,
Right. He asked the nation.
Ma katuv b'Torah. What is written in the Torah?
Fabulous. Keep going.
Amor lechem ha
Kadosh Baruch Hu.
kadosh. Oh, hakadosh baruch hu. Mitzvot ukim umishpatim.
Okay. So we know what mitzvot are. Commandments. What's in the Torah? Commandments. Now, chukim and mishpatim. Oops.
Mishpatim is laws, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So chukim are laws that not always easy to understand why. You just have to accept it. Like, why do we have when my daughter got married and my son-in-law was going for a suit, there's something called shotness. You can't mix, oh, you're familiar. You can't mix two different threads together, you know, like cotton and wool. So one would say, or this one said, why not? What is that? Even kashrut. There's lists in the Torah of all the things you can eat. I think there's certain kinds of locusts even that you can eat and what you can't eat. And you just have to accept it. And there's sometimes no rationale. It's not something which is rational, but you just, this is it. You can come up with some kind of Bubba mindset, some kind of, you know, tale as to why, but it's actually, so the hook is like a law, but not always understandable. You just have to do it. Okay, so it's commandments and these strict laws and mishpatim. Mishpat is really a sentence, like a grammatical sentence. Mishpatim is also laws. Okay, so you have to just accept it. What's in it? There's laws and there's commandments and laws. Okay, so who wants to take that? You can have it. All right. So the next line, Amru, Nancy? Oh, wait, Nancy, you're on mute. Nancy, you're on mute. Unmute.
Sorry,
Hey,
no wonder. Okay.
Start with Amru.
Amru ha'amim nishma et divrei Toratecha ve'im yehiu
Very good.
tovim
The
ba'anenu
Nenu, correct. Nenu.
Naaseh otam.
Good. Tov. So Amru from Lomar, they said, Ha'amim, the nation said. So they replied, Nishma, we will. What's Nishma?
Shema. Is it from Shema?
Yes, we will listen. We will obey.
Listen.
Okay.
You, et, no, we will listen, is et and? We will listen to your words, divrei, word,
Nishma et, you don't translate the words of.
the Torah.
We will obey the words of the Torah. Ve'im, that means and if.
And
if.
good.
Yehiyu, there will be. If they will be good.
Good.
Plural. If these words, the mitzvot and the laws. Now, what are your einayim?
Your eyes.
Okay, so einenu, new on the end means our. And if it's good, if we like it, if this is good in our eyes, the laws, naaseh, we shall do them. Okay, so
when it says
conditional.
when the people said, are we talking about just the Israelites?
No, we're not up to the Israelites yet.
Okay, everybody
Amru
said
ha'amim, these are the other nations. All the other nations said, okay,
that.
if we like what's in your Torah, and if it's good in our eyes, whatever's in there, okay, we'll listen, we'll obey. Nishma.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
where are we? Oh, we will do, yeah. It says we will do them. Okay. It says, and if it's good, it says we'll listen to the words of your Torah, and if it is good in our eyes, we'll obey them. Okay. Read another sentence.
Me?
Don't look at me like that.
Diane, isn't it your turn? No. Okay. Diane, do you want to read? No, I'll keep reading. If you want to
Read a little
I
more.
can do it. You want me to do it?
All right, I'll do it. Ha'asher ha'amim samu
Shamu.
shamu. Yeah, I didn't see it. Okay, shamu. Okay, so what is this? Lo ta she
Se.
se. Oh yeah, ta she. Lo pesal.
Lecha pesel.
Pesel, lo pesel, the whole tamuna. Oh, Omer.
Amru.
Amru.
Okay, so
Amru.
Diane, just finish up that sentence with lo.
Lo nikabel et haTorah.
So let's see what it says. Ka'asher, when the nations heard, and this is a quote,
Oh, I see.
Lo ta'aseh lecha pesel.
Oh,
You will not make for yourselves an idol. The plot thickens here. V'chol, and all, tumuna, and all kind of a picture. They said, Lo nikabel, we will not receive et haTorah. They were idol worshippers. We're not interested in your Torah. Okay, we want to make our idols. This is the way we've always done it, and we're going to continue doing it, and forget us. Okay, so Diane, go ahead.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I was writing notes. Let's see. Ball, is that where we are?
Uh-huh.
Bo HaKono, oh wait,
Kadosh.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu, sorry.
Yes, that's it.
El B'nai Yisrael Behar T, is that Ta?
Summit.
So,
Sinai,
Yeah.
Ve'omar Lohem.
Okay, let's see what that is. Ba means came, the Holy One, blessed be he, came. El, to, B'nai Israel, the Israelites, he came to the Israelites. So he hadn't gone to them yet. Behar Sinai, here's when he shows up on that fiery mountain. Ve'amar lahem, and said to them, okay, now this is the crux of the whole story, Diane.
Oh, sorry, I was writing again. Okay, where were we? V'tzonichem lekabel et haTorah. Anu kulam peh echad v'omru. Kol asher diber. Okay, what does that mean?
Hashem.
Hashem, I know it was important. Naaseh v'nishma.
Okay, so now everything is like upside down here. So the Holy One came to the Israelites on Mount Sinai, as Diane said, and he said to them, do you want to receive the Torah? They answered all in one voice. They answered unanimously. Kulams, all of them, pe echad, in one mouth. And they said, Kol asher diber Hashem, everything that God said, na'aseh v'nishma, we will do, we will obey, and we will listen. So we will, so na'aseh is we will do. First is saying, we'll do it, we'll obey, and then it says, and we'll hear. Okay, so na'aseh is we'll do it, and we'll hear it. So one would say that that's backwards, right? If someone tells you to do something, you want to know what it is, just like the other nations. They say, so what is in this Torah? And we have to know, no making of idols, count us out. So that's a very famous phrase. Na'aseh v'nishma, we'll do it, and then we'll hear what it is. So they was like, okay, whatever you say, we'll do 100%. Let's do this.
and is
No
this
conditions.
and is this because God had been speaking to Moses and they trusted Moses? Or what's our timing here? Are God told them got them out of Egypt? Why do they accept it blindly and not ask any questions?
Because the name of this is emunah, it's faith. Because they believed in God, that God, the basic experience of Judaism is the Exodus, which we've just
Okay.
had in Passover. So they believe that God was the one who was instrumental in bringing the 10 plagues
Okay.
and freeing them. And so that's in the Kiddush. I mean, that is coming out of Egypt, being freed. That is a momentous thing to the Israel. 400 years of slavery. So when they're freed, and they attribute this to the workings of God with plagues, that something supernatural, that a person can not bring the waters to get the bloodied and all. There are explanations in National Geographic. I read a whole thing, how it was red tide and all of this stuff, but they took it as this was God. So they did believe Moses. Moses was a leader, and they did believe what he said, how he interpreted for them what God's words. So they had the experience of getting out of Egypt, and now they were in the desert, and they survived in the desert. Going through, the waters open up, they go through, and the charioteers and Pharaoh is pursuing them. They're right behind them. And then there is a cloud in front of them. So there's a cloud of fire at night and a cloud of smoke during the day to protect them. So now they're protected. The waters open up, they go across. I mean, all these mind-blowing things. Now they're in the desert, and they're marched down to Mount Sinai. And Moses has been the lawgiver. He's been the one interpreting things and passing judgment, doing laws for the people. So they have faith. You know, what you say, we'll do. Has there ever been a teacher that you had or somebody that you respected so much in the past that whatever they told you to do, you had confidence in them, somebody that you really trusted, or a friend or a relative? Okay. It's a very big ask.
Mhm.
Oh, tell me to do this and I'll do it. I'm not asking why. They're not saying why, you know, what are all the conditions? And then, okay, let's do it. So it's, yeah, that's why this is called emunah, faith. I mean, this is. So people who are, you know, very religious, take it as, it's a point of faith. I mean, I'm supposed to, like, kosher is an example. It's more expensive than regular food. My husband always complains about it. And yet I said, no, we're going to be kosher in the house. We're going to have the kosher meat and the cheese and everything, because I want it that way, because this is our religion. And I just want it that way. And if you go into all the different, you know, little tiny crevices of all the laws, that's not faith. You're asking, it's like faith versus intellect or versus rationale. And a lot of the things, you know, some things you can understand, like in kindness to animals, which was recently in Imor, you cannot hook up two animals that are different, of different strengths together. Why is that? Because it would be Sa'ar Ba'alei Chayim. Sa'ar means the sorrow, and Ba'alei Chayim means of living creatures. So it would be bad for one of them, would get dragged by the neck by the ox, let's say, if you put a donkey and an ox. It's not a good matchup. And again,
What did you call that just before you started to give the example of the animals?
Sa'ar
Okay.
Ba'alei Chayim. Sa'ar means the sorrow, and Ba'alei means the owners of life, living creatures. Okay, so, I mean, these laws pertaining to animals, which are very sensitive, like don't take the eggs while
Right.
there is on the nest. I mean, but who thinks of this stuff? I mean, I'm a very big, you know, animal lover and plant lover. And when a plant dies, I am very unhappy. Really, it's almost like grieving. I'm serious. So who dreams up these laws? These are things that are such sensitivity that you should feed your animals, you know, to a farmer, supposed to feed his animals, attend to the animals before he feeds himself. If you're a cow and your bladder is full of milk, it's going to hurt. It's like where some of us are a little older, and when I get up at 4 a.m. because I have got to go to the bathroom, otherwise it's going to be the Johnstown flood. So, I mean, imagine a cow is full of milk, and you're having your you know, your eggs and your waffles, and the cow is meanwhile in the barn. That's not kindness to that animal. All right, we know how that feels, unfortunately.
If you ever nursed your children too, you know.
Right.
Nursing, you know, if you don't nurse it, I was in a class once, I was still teaching, I was subbing. And my baby was just still an infant. And at a certain time, I would feel that tingling feeling, and my breasts would fill up. And it was, I think, like in the spring or something like that. And I had pads in the bra, you know, nursing pads. It was a nursing bra. And I could feel that letdown reflex. And I go, oh boy, this is going to be fun. And it went through, I think I had 2 pads. It went through the first and it went through the second. And it started to leak out of my shirt. And I heard from the back of the room, well, did I give it to those? I smacked it back to the one tooth. And so those kids, I gave it right back to them.
Oh, you gotta love them.
No,
Yeah,
I
really.
don't gotta love them. You know, I mean, I was dripping. Oh, not a good sign. And it was another time where I was subbing in a junior high school. I had my back to the class. I was writing my name on the board, and all of a sudden I heard something. I turn around and it's a penny. Somebody threw a penny at me, and then I unloaded the entire arsenal. I don't think I taught a thing that day, but I unloaded on those kids. And I told them what they
Right.
represented and what kind of people they were.
Mhm.
And I have no problem with that, you know. So that's some pretty thing. Yeah, so faith is faith. Yeah, Nancy.
Right. So I asked the question about the treating of animals because you've mentioned it before, you know, as an animal lover and feeding
Yeah.
the person, all of that. But in my class with the rabbi the other day, I was trying to tie in the Kentucky Derby because one of the guys owns a fraction of a racehorse. So I was trying to tie in, you know, all these horses dying before the Kentucky Derby, and what did it say? We were studying mitzvot and stuff, and what did it say about treatment of animals, right? And so I, you know, that's why I asked the question.
It's not a Jew. Do you know what they died of?
The horses before the Kentucky Derby? No,
Yeah.
I just
That
know
must have been a
they died.
very big economic loss.
Right. I don't know what they died of. I just know there were 7 of them, and right.
Yes,
There
yes.
were-
Ah,
Uh, you know, those horses that they train in Vienna, the high stepping horses, I think that
right.
they have a burr or something that they put on their feet. You know, that they'll lift their foot up. It's a lot of mistreatment of animals.
I
Same
know.
circus animals too,
Right.
you know, making them do things that are not normal for those kinds of animals.
And the bucking broncos at a rodeo, they tie up their
Oh, their legs.
testicles and stuff. No, they tie up their testicles, and that's why they're bucking.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, these are really horrible things, you know. So you're thinking that we're part of a culture which is so sensitive to human beings, treatment of humans. You know, look, we talked about this the social welfare thing with leaving the corners and the droppings, but also for animals. It filters down even to the way we treat our animals. And I personally, you know, I'm a big animal lover, and I think that that's an amazing thing.
Mhm.
You know, that the sensitivity to human life, it's a regard for life, and that's what it is. You know, that all life is sacred. So anyway, I think there's a beautiful story, and I hope you're going to look at the Book of Ruth. So the Book of Ruth is it's also beautiful, but I love when a guy has to take off his sandal and hands him his sandal. Okay, here, to take my sandal. This is the deal. Once I did that in the rabbis. I did that once in the rabbis study. I went in and I think I was you know, when you have to sign where you're leaving your chametz, and I signed the document, and I took my sandal off, I took my shoe off, and I gave it to the rabbi. I said, "Here, this will seal the deal." I think I'm crazy. As a sugar. Tomorrow, our rabbi is going to be away, probably Mother's Day weekend, maybe he's visiting relatives or whatever. So he asked a lot of people to help out. So Gabbai Rishon, they're all volunteers, you know. So I had done once before the Pesukei Zimra and Birkot HaShachar, and I knew that would take another couple of hours to study, and I've had a busy week. So he said he had one more position to fill. He had the Gabbai Rishon was filled, Gabbai Sheni was the honors Gabbai. Now I have done that, but I haven't done that in a long time. So that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. Honors Gabbai. I have to all, you know, go up to people, give them the little card. You open the ark, you close the ark, you're going to carry the Torah around, you have an aliyah. I think I make it simple. I think I'll give the blessings to the same people who are doing the aliyah. That'll make it simple. And then when you start, Denise, you know that when you have an aliyah, you go, Amen. But if you are doing the aliyah for your Torah reading, you don't do that.
Right.
you just, because you said the blessing and then you just start right after you finish with the blessing, you start reading. They told you that, right? Are you gonna
Yeah.
have the Aliyah? Are you gonna have the Aliyah for your Torah reading?
Yeah, but I'm in the middle, so I'm not starting anything. I'm in the middle of the verse. So maybe
Okay.
you know what I mean? I don't start the whole thing off. There's 18 of us that are going to go up and read.
Wow.
We're reading, it's Devarim we're doing. I can't remember which chapters, but all I
Varim.
know is my line is 23 and I know what it is.
You have one line?
Well, it's one verse. It's a short verse. Yes. I know
That's-
I think it's two lines, but it's a very short verse.
Okay, but you're good with it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
Good.
printed it out and I've been practicing. Plus, Rabbi Sella made tapes for us with the trope in it. So
Good, good. Do you wake up in the morning and that's on your mind? Do you say it?
yeah, I say it to myself when I'm cleaning.
Yeah. Yeah, by now you know it by heart, right?
Right.
Yeah, because see, then we learned it with the trope and with the vowels, but now she's walking us through reading just the Torah portion with no vowels, so
Right.
that we can recognize what we're looking at. So yeah,
That's the memory part.
yep.
I mean, like, if you're reading straight Hebrew, everything's there. You've got the trope notes, you've got the vowels, but when you're reading Torah, it's just, do you have a tikkun?
No, I don't. I have a Tanakh, but I don't have a Tikkun.
So you need to have a tikkun,
I know. I know.
or I have trope trainer. You can do that, and then you can go to Devarim and you can take any
Well, I decided I'm not going to be too hard on myself. I'm just going to try this, get this done, and then when you said in one of your emails that if anybody wanted to continue this over the summer, I would
Right.
absolutely like to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's
would
fun for
too.
me
I
too.
mean, I enjoy it. For me, it's like a puzzle to figure out.
Yeah, and the more you do, there's a lot of repetition. I've told you this before. In Siddur Hebrew, there's a lot of repetition. So
Right.
every while you look at the English, you look at the Hebrew, you say, oh, I've seen that word before like 20 times. I know what that means.
Yeah, I have to be ready because I'm afraid my rabbi's going to make me get up there and read from the Torah because they know about my bat mitzvah coming up and everything. And I want to make sure, I want to get myself ready.
So
Sure.
the bat mitzvah is not taking place at convention.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, once you read from the Torah,
Well, I know, except that I know what I'm reading there. I mean, I can't just look at a Torah cold and know what's
No.
going on.
right? Oh, well,
I need to
No.
practice.
but you think your rabbi's going to make you do that too?
He hinted at it. He goes, "Oh, so you can read Torah for us some week." And I'm thinking,
Right.
oh,
But
Well-
ask him so that it's a good experience. Ask him for like
advanced notice.
just a few
Oh,
lines.
yeah.
Because if
Right.
you can read 3 lines and that's acceptable. That's the minimum to read. But you want to make sure that each line is not a
Yeah.
paragraph, because sometimes a sentence goes on and on and on.
Yep.
You know, one like sentence could be many lines, so you got to be careful. When the one from my synagogue asked me to read Torah, and she says, "Oh, it's only like 8 lines," and then I look at it and I go, "Yeah, it's 8 lines. It's really 15 lines." You know,
Right.
I,
Right.
yeah. So don't be gullible. Take a look at it before you say yes. Say to him, "Show me in the tikkun." Well, you should buy yourself a tikkun then.
I will. I'm going to go on Amazon. I got my dictionary. I've been looking through my dictionary, so I'm going to get a tikkun. And get
Yeah.
that.
And if you have the proper tools, and then you might even get that trope trainer, which is online, and it sings everything for you, you know. So
Oh,
yeah, a trope trainer is it's a tool. I think it's put out by the Rabbinical Assembly, and it has Torah, Haftorah, I think maybe some of the Megillot. So I really should learn the Book of Ruth. I should learn the trope to it. But it's another thing.
Denise, and years ago, I used to read Torah, and I would,
Really?
I would memorize it. It's not that I could actually read it. But I started doing it first for my daughter's bat mitzvah, and then I did it anyway, what helped me was to know that they won't correct your trope. They'll only
Right.
correct the words.
Right, that's what Rabbi Sella keeps telling us, concentrate more on the words.
On the words,
and
right.
trope. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if the word is im and you say aim, because if the word is distorted, it's not really Torah.
Right,
And if you sing the wrong melody, the only ones that are gonna know is the rabbi and the cantor, maybe one or two people in the congregation, and
Right.
you know what's hard too, when you read the actual Hebrew, it's all the flourishes and it's not just, like the shen, the what you call the shen, with all the flourishes up at the top and all, it's
the
just,
crowns,
and
they're called crowns.
crowns, and then if the line needs, like in one of my lines, that it needs to go to a certain point, so they elongated the bet so
Right.
that so the word would fill out the line.
Yeah.
If
It
you're not ready for
depends
that.
who the calligrapher is, and they all have different styles.
Yep.
If we have a Torah in the synagogue that was in honor of a rabbi, now he's Rabbi Emeritus, and the letters are shiny.
Oh,
And so when you're reading it, it's sometimes very difficult. Now I've read from that Torah before, so now I'm used to it. And then we have another one which opens up, it's got a teak, a case. And that one is I think from Burma. And it has like rollers on the top. And
oh,
said to me, yeah, it's rolled up in a big case. Look, I call it Sputnik. That's my nickname for it. It looks like a satellite. Anyway, that one is also difficult because you've got to stand at a certain length that you can see the text. Someone said to me, stand back. I go, stand back, and it'll be blank. I gotta stand, I gotta see what this thing says. Yeah. So anyway, you're gonna be great. Anybody else going to convention? I'm not going this year. I went when I was president of Sisterhood, and I think I went about 3 times, and it was a great experience. This will be your first convention, Denise?
Yes, it will. They keep telling me it's life-changing, so we'll see.
Well, I don't know if it's life-changing, but it is amazing. And when you hear all those women singing together, that's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I know. Well, and at the end, I'm leading Adon Olam.
Okay. What melody?
Adon Olam, Asher Melach, something like that. Toby did it for me. I have to keep practicing.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yetzini Ba Da Dun Da Da Dun Da Da. That was like Ernie Kovacs.
What?
Got the 3 monkeys. Da 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 da.
Well, I'm counting on everybody joining in once I
of
start.
course, of
Yeah,
course.
everybody.
They will. You'll have hundreds of people joining in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, ladies, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
So look,
And
please
happy Mother's
look
Day.
at the book of Ruth, and we'll read. At least we'll try to get through the first chapter, these 2 chapters, okay? And it's not as hard as you think it is. You really can read it.
Well, what we read for today on Shavuot was a little overwhelming when I first looked at it, but then it got easier the more I looked at it.
Yeah, those
I've
students are very nice. I like that book very much. I like telling you, the seventh grade kids don't like anything. They don't even like themselves. So,
Of course not, especially not.
so they liked that book, and because they felt that they could do it. So you can certainly do it. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll tell you how my being the
Honor.
honors gab.
And happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
happy Mother's Day.
Yom
Yes.
ha'em sameach l'kulam. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.